Okay, very nice. We're going to now go to the code section and look for, um, let me find it first, and then I'll let you know where. Right here, right after the closing of this div and the beginning of div class content. If you just find div class content, between div class content and the div before it that's closing, hit enter, and let's go ahead and put the cursor there and then insert the navigation right here. So once your cursor is here, you want to go to the insert panel, and then where it says common, if it currently says common, you want to change that to layout. Okay? And once you have layout selected, you want to choose Spry menu bar. This window opens, and let's choose horizontal. Okay? Now, when I went ahead and hit OK, all of this blue, highlighted blue code was added for me. And it's basically, you know, a template, if you will, of a horizontal navigation. And it's made up of many sub-menu items which we can delete or keep to our liking. Okay, so go back to design, and this is actually what we got. And if we preview the page, actually let's not do that yet. I don't want to confuse you. Let's do it step by step. So we inserted our Spry menu bar, we chose horizontal, and now we want to change those names. We don't want our navigation to say item 1, 2, 3, 4. We want it to say home, about us, collections, and so forth. So let's start with the first one. What I will do is change the names. So item 1, select, you click item 1, item 2, and so forth. So when you click on item 1, it's saying that item 1 has 3 submenu items 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. You don't need those for our purpose. So just select 1.1 and hit this minus sign to get rid of it, and 1.2 and 1.3. So delete 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Let's call item 1 home in capital letters. And the link obviously should be index.html. Okay, now the second one is going to be called about, or about us, and the link is going to be about.html. The third one currently has 3 submenu items, and the first submenu item has even more submenu items. Let's go ahead and remove item 3.1.1 and 3.1.2. Let's go ahead and remove item 3.3, but let's keep item 3.1 and 3.2. Okay, because we will make collections, spring and summer collections. So item 3 is called collections, and where it says link, I'm not going to enter a page because there's no page for collections. Collections exists just for the purpose of having the drop down that takes us to the winter and summer, spring, whatever we decide, collections, the upcoming collections. Okay, so just hit the tab key, and that's all. Now for item 3.1, let's choose, let's go ahead and call it fall. Okay, the fall collection, and then the link will say fall.html, and then item 3.2 will say spring, and the link will be spring.html. Okay, the last one will be called contact, and the link should be contact.html. That's all. Okay, now this is it. Let's go ahead and save. We want to obviously make changes style-wise, but for now, let's see how it's working. So File, Save. And again, that window opens, which is telling us that Dreamweaver is going to provide us with all of these JavaScript files and GIF files and CSS files in order for this navigation to work. So we just say yes, and they're going to reside, as it says here, in a folder called Spry Assets. Okay, it's going to be created for us. We'll go check now. So hit OK. Let's check actually what's happening. So all my work is under Penny Black, this folder, and I can see my Spry Assets folder, which got created for me. I never did any of this. Dreamweaver created all of this for me. It also created the scripts for me when we worked with the Swift video and so forth. Okay, so going back to Dreamweaver, we saved, and now we want to preview in browser. And this is the navigation. You hover over it, it's this generic blue, which we will change. You hover over collections, it shows its submenu items, which are spring and fall, and contact, and so forth. So what we want to do is have the navigation extend from the left side to the right side, all the way to the right side. We want to change this blue to probably our fuchsia color so that everything works together much nicer than it currently is. Okay, so let's look under the CSS panel. Okay, if I close this little arrow, if I click on it, the style section of CSS is going to close, and I see that there's a new CSS file here. So Spry menu bar horizontal.css was added for me because I added this navigation through insert layout Spry menu bar. So I'm going to click on that, and here is where I will make my changes. I will start with ul.menubar horizontal space li, which means the li that is nested inside of the UL whose class is menu bar horizontal. And all of this you can find in the code right here. Okay? So let's click on this first one. And what we want to do is change the width. Okay? So if we have 4 buttons and the width of our container is 1000 pixels wide, then each should be 250 pixels, right? So let's go ahead and apply those changes. For the width, it says 8 em. Let's change that to 250. And then pixels. Okay, so now we have this nice wide navigation that extends from the left to the right. Let's also change the text align from left to center. Okay, that's wonderful. So it looks nice now. Let's continue. Now, the second one we want to look at is ul.menubar horizontal space ul space li. So we're basically going to do the same thing to the buttons spring and fall collection, which are the submenu items under collections, right? Because otherwise, let me show you what will happen. Let me save the page, file, save, I already did, and then preview in browser. So my navigation is nicely extending from the left to the right, but when I hover over collections, I get this odd, fall and spring that are half the size of the collections button. I want fall and spring to be as wide as the collections button. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm looking for the li nested in another ul, which in turn is a child of the ul whose class is menu bar horizontal. So this is what I want. I want to change the width. Oops. to 250 pixels. That's all. So now that should work. Save and file, preview in browser. And my problem is resolved. Fall and spring are as wide as collections, so that's wonderful. Okay, going back now. What are we doing next? We're looking for the A, right? Because the A is, the words and the color and all that. And let's go ahead and make changes. So for the background color, we want this EEE to change to FFF, so white. And then we want the color, so the color of the text, to be 1E1100, which is a dark brownish color. Okay? Now, upon hover, which is the next item here, A:hover, select that. Upon hover, let's change this weird looking blue. I mean, it's weird because our website doesn't have the blue, otherwise it's okay. So the background color to our fuchsia, CF2D54, okay? And then let the color stay white upon hover. Same thing for the spring and fall buttons. So the button right after where it says A.menu, okay? Same thing, CF2D54, fuchsia and white. That's it. And then save the work and preview. Okay, so you hover over home, about, collections, contact. You hover over collections, you get fall and spring. Everything's looking nice the way we want it exactly. Now let's go ahead and build what's on the about page, what's in the collections pages, and what's under contact.